Hello, everyone. Good to see you. I see people joining one by one. It's pretty exciting today. We've got folks joining from a lot of places. We've got UK, France, of course, Europe broadly in a lot of countries, US, Africa, and even India, which is pretty late for you guys. And we've got also Middle East. So pretty exciting. So if it's fine by you guys, I'm just going to let another minute so that we've got the joiners that are doing back-to-back video have an opportunity to log. Okay, so I guess let's crack on. This content is kind of a summary of different content we've been publishing over the last few months. We did a series of benchmark from different players on the planet, in the media planet. And we also published a pretty lengthy white paper about conversion and how to optimize the subscription funnel. So the intent of this short webinar, that should be over 30 minutes, is just give you a snapshot of what we learn. We'll make sure to send you after links to the different publications that we released in the past. What we're trying to do here is give you example of leading brands. These brands we're going to talk about are not our clients. These are brands that we like and look at, and I think all in our little community look at these brands. So we thought it would be fun to not only give you some tips, but show what the others are doing in that space. So we're going to go through the subscription funnel, 6 steps. Sometimes these steps can be condensed into 2 steps or maybe even 1, but normally these are the different 6 steps that are going to bring a reader from content to subscription and back to content. One point which is important, that whereas we're going to focus on how to optimize the funnel, and you guys know it, but it's very important to make sure that you're very clear about your value proposition and that you know how to make it clear to your readers, to your prospect. Without value proposition, without clarity on that, there's no point of optimizing the subscription funnel. So we're going to look at these 6 steps, and for each step is going to be one slide. What is this stage? Why is that stage important? What are its objectives? And share some ideas of KPIs that you should track to optimize your business. And on top, we will show 2 interesting examples from the brands that we did benchmark. The first step, it's a step where the content is blocked. That's normally where the paywall comes in. And yes, a paywall cuts a reader off from accessing content. One thing which is important is there are different ways to block content and to think about having a paywall strategy. Some of you may be having a freemium strategy, which means some content is almost ever free and some content is premium, therefore behind a paywall. Other folks in the industry are looking at metered, which is almost every content is, premium, but you allow readers to maybe snack 1, 2, 3, or 4 articles before they hit a paywall. That's the 2 main models we see on the market. And then you've got different ways to manage your paywall. It could be a hard paywall, which means it's almost the same message for everyone, or it could be dynamic. Dynamic means that you might do a different journey based on the audience profile, the engagement level, the source of traffic, the country, the device, maybe different from mobile to desktop. It's also dynamic, helps you get a A/B testing capability, to see what is the optimal journey or the optimal design. So that's, you're going to have to pick your battle here and see what the best. Of course, we believe that the dynamic paywall is the best ways to go, because that's how you can really drive optimization. Then there is about the content is blocked in exchange of what? Because at the end of the day, you block access and you require a value exchange. The one we're going to focus here is mostly subscription. And yes, you're going to block and ask to subscribe. That might be your end game. But from other players, they are thinking about blocking access to ask for another value exchange. The value exchange can be sometimes to just register to a newsletter, could be to create an account, could be to answer a survey, it could be to watch an ad, it could be many things. So I guess just encourage you to think maybe differently about this idea of blocking content. Blocking content is not just to add subscription, it could be a step to build other metrics for the business. Now, if we go back to a subscription funnel, clearly the objective, the classic one, is to say, I got a paywall, and my goal is to drive traffic back to the landing page of the subscription so that I can monetize. One thing which is important is it's not always an extra step. You could have a lot of stuff in the paywall happening anyway. But whatever you do, you need to think about highlighting the value proposition. And I know I'm going to insist a lot about that, but once you block, you need to explain why you block, why you ask for a value exchange, what is the interest of that value exchange, so it's pretty clear to the reader and they don't feel trapped. And because that's what matters, is to strike this balance between the frustration of being blocked, but the ability for a reader to be engaged. What I'm saying here is we know that some folks have a pretty hard strategy of blocking access to any content, and that's strong. It's strong if you have a very strong brand that people understand, have an idea about, clearly differentiate, but you don't allow a lot of other people to discover what you stand for. And that's why you need to think about maybe blocking at the right time, but allowing some of the readers to snack, understand what's behind the brand, and therefore later convert. Main KPIs, you should look overall at your traffic and think about the percentage of traffic on free articles versus paid. We've seen there's a pretty strong correlation between the percentage of paid content and the conversion. The sweet spot seems to be between 30 and 40%. So 30 or 40% of page use on paid content versus the rest on free seems to be a pretty sweet spot. It doesn't mean you need to produce 40% of your content as premium. It just means to make sure they are labeled as such on your homepage, people visit them and are exposed to it. Because at the second one, there are page views, but what is the nerve of people, the unique users, that are exposed to that? We've seen on the French market that the pressure is pretty high now. 1 out of 3 readers are exposed to a paywall every time they come to a publication. So that's why one important part is the visibility of the paywall per se. What are the factors impacting the visibility of the paywall? You've got, first is it's a script, right? So where does a script sit within the waterfall? You need to do some optimization to make sure it's not triggered too late. But other things, which I guess are stronger point to be looked at, is the UI of the page. Normally, it's triggered on an article page, and sometimes the header of a page is pretty long. You could have a lot of advertising, and by nature, that's pushing the content down. Second, you could have some images as illustrations to your headline. That pushes down the content further. So that's why we strongly recommend sometimes to maybe remove the image if it's not a very strong image, if it's kind of a generic, image, to make sure the content goes up. And then you've got another layer, which is the percentage of the articles that you can still read before the paywall triggers. What I'm saying here is that the visibility of the paywall is clearly impacted by all these factors. And sometimes we've seen publishers that are having, pretty good content, lengthy articles, but pretty crowded headers, make that the reader has to scroll 4 times before they hit the paywall. So look at this, find the balance again, let them browse, but maybe don't wait too much before making the paywall visible. And of course, click-through rate as usual. So examples. We've got The Athletic and the New York Times. New York Times on the left. Well, that's interesting. The first step for them is not to go directly on pushing a subscription. It's to get people to create an account. And that makes sense because we've seen on the market that if you compare the conversion rate of an anonymous visitor versus a registered reader, the conversion rate for subscription is from 10 to 200 times more important than from anonymous. So clearly here, New York Times is thinking, I need to start to create a habit. I need to let them snack a bit my content. Let's make them first create an account, give me an email address. And also what you see, what the New York Times is doing is making it super visible. It's almost hiding the content. So that's a strategy. Maximum visibility, but one simple next step, which is just an email address. Then you got The Athletic. As you know, The Athletic covers many different types of sports. But what they make sure is that the paywall is customized to the type of sport. Here, example, if someone reads an article about football, well, they would be displayed with a paywall mentioning the fact that we get a great coverage on Football Insights. So you can work on that, make it dynamic, and think about editorial context. Now you got the subscription offers, right? When the typical landing page where you see the offers, that could be an optional step. Sometimes you could display the offers directly in a paywall, which is going to save one step. Or you could make sure there would be only one offer, not always 3 or 2 or 4. But that's interesting. There's a lot of debate between, shall I offer a range of choices? Shall I push my readers to go to one offer especially? That has to be looked at. But again, once someone eats and see all the offers, it should not just be about price and features. It should be also about the value proposition. And again, what it means is, why subscribing? Why should I spend time with the brand? How am I going to feel once I get subscribers? And try, please, not just to say a magazine, a newsletter, all the classic features, but think about the benefit when subscribing. Very important. And you can push a bit the choice towards one way. I will show you in the illustration. KPIs to look at: the time spent, balance between time spent and click-through rate. Do people spend a lot of time, but they click a lot? It's good, just means they are really exploring and they are efficient. Or do they spend very short amount of time and get out? Maybe it's confusing. You need to see what's going on and not just look at click-through rate. And also break down every metrics every time at each steps by device, by source of traffic, by location, because that's going to help you inform your acquisition strategy. Think about maybe some sources are more efficient than others, and make sure the acquisition can reflect that when you bring them into the subscription funnel. So these are the examples from Netflix and the Times. Here you got on the left Netflix, where they make it pretty clear that readers should choose version number 3, which is higher price but best as far as resolution. So the feature for them, the differentiating feature, is the video quality. But you see on the top left, they make sure that you got some clear benefit and some reassurance about the fact that they can cancel at any time, and there would be a benefit, which would be the personalized recommendation. So they make sure it's push readers towards one offer, but do some reassurance and clarity about why subscribing. On the right side, you got an example from the Times, which is really well done because optimized for mobile. They really think about the mobile optimization. It's crisp, pretty clear. They put the benefit, they just show one offer, which is the free trial, then £10. There's a clear highlight of the button, start your free trial, with the famous yellow that's starting to become the color for subscription globally. Maybe one thing that could be a bit better is not just include the features. You see the list in the your free trial includes. There could have been an opportunity to maybe say what the brand stands for. And then you got other businesses that are, it's harder for them to simplify the offer. Canal Plus is a French and European paid TV player. They are a broadcaster of channels that they operate and also that they license. And they come from a legacy business where there's a lot of packages mixing, sport, entertainment, music, other things. And that legacy business is reflected in the ways they show their offers. It's pretty puzzling for consumers when they have to make a choice. 27 offers here. Then you got a phase of the account creation. That's the famous form to fill out. And that's the moment where you're like, say, okay, on one way, on one end, I want to make it super smart, easy, so I close the deal with my reader. The other time, you might want to collect more elements so that you can maybe personalize the experience moving forward, so you can collect more first-party data from your advertising business. That's the trickiest bit. And at the end of the day, what matters is really to test, optimize, A/B test, compare, because there's not one solution fitting all. It really depends on your business strategy and your type of readers. People like Quartz, it's just one box. The Times is like 9 boxes. Clearly, as you know, the more boxes, the lower will be the completion, but you got stronger profiles to leverage. KPIs to look at, the conversion rate to the next step, of course, and just the completion rate of the form to see where it's blocking. Back to Canal Plus. Well, the good thing is, on one hand, they have a lot of complex offers, but they make it super smooth to create an account. But just go with providing an email and a password to start with. If you look at the Financial Times, there's a lot of questions. You will not be surprised to see questions about the industry, the job position, the type of responsibility, because it's going to feed the advertising business with social demographics and other stuff. But also it's going to help qualify maybe leads for other areas of the group, such as the event business, to find delegates that could be interested into a given topic. Payment, well, that's what is collect payment. It's pretty obvious, but you have to think payment is a part where you need to make it easy to pay, but really reassure. That's the moment when someone can like, I'm not sure, and get out. So yes, think about the conversion, but the reassurance, the way you talk on the side about the ability to maybe pick a method of payment that will be easy for them. Highlight when you offer that they can cancel at any time. Not everyone does that. And maybe make it tangible, make it pretty official with maybe a sort of receipt. KPIs, yeah. You have to pay attention to that step and look at not just the exit rate, but what's been the preferred payment method, because maybe you want to push that further, as highlighted. But think also about the payment method, the conversion, and maybe the lifetime value, because some payment method might be impacted. As an example, you think about credit card. Credit card expose publishers to a pretty high passive churn. The passive churn is because the credit card are expiring. That's why we see publishers now using IBAN or IBAN, because at least there is no such thing as expiration, but it's more lengthy. Again, test that, and really break down all the elements on the payment methods, the impact on conversion, on the lifetime value. Example on the left, you got Wired, and yeah, they make it super clear, lean, 3 boxes. When you pick one of the options, credit card, Amazon Pay, or PayPal, it's going to be, the form will adjust automatically. There is one reassurance, and you may cancel at any time, but that's it. No other value proposition, no other stuff, but at least there is no distraction. If you look on Audible, yeah, they make sure that on the left side, you got a recap about the value proposition and the benefits, and there is some element of reassurance. So it's pretty good practice. Then you get the order confirmation and the onboarding, because the order confirmation can be straight away, the onboarding can be later. That's also important to make it like check, done, it's all set. You need to give a good first impression. That first impression can be given with just a crisp receipt, or also sort of a clear welcome from editor. But also you need to think that they came to access a piece of content and not they subscribe, so they might want to return to the piece of content. So you need to be careful about that. So you should do that maybe in parallel with an email fired on the side, but let them go back to their content. So again, objective, you need to make sure you reassure it's been done, it's okay, or will process, but let them feel welcome thank them. That's really important. It's the beginning of the journey, because now you acquired, your challenge is going to be churn. And we know that what really matters is in the first 2 weeks, how do you make sure you maximize the adoption with the brand? Make sure you form a habit, because that's what's going to reduce your churn over time. You need to create this moment of truth, and you need to maybe think about, onboarding series, several emails that are fired across the next 2 weeks with a proper editorial welcome, with a feature which is highlighted, maybe showcase another app that can be downloaded, offers from newsletters. Do this progressively so that right away you become one of the 3 things that the reader is doing every day. KPIs, yeah, that's pretty obvious. You need to think also about, once they confirm, did they visit or not the content. And then if you onboard with different features or options, what's been the activation rate on all these features or options. Financial Times on the left, yeah, clearly a receipt effect. Check, it's done. So it's good, it looks professional, and I think satisfying for folks. Maybe it looks like a receipt because a lot of folks are expensing it, putting it on expense. On the right side, you got the New York Times, and New York Times is they really think about this engagement. Remember, first step was create an account. Now to the New York Times, once you complete your payment right away, they want to make sure you get personalized experience, you engage in subscribing to newsletters, because they know they're going to drive frequency. That's how they're going to drive pretty long lifetime value, reducing churn over time. And then you got access to the content. Well, I think there's nothing more frustrating for readers than doing all this and finally go back to the homepage. So please, I urge you, if it's still happening on your publication or your media brand or your website, to make sure if the paywall and the conversion funnel was triggered when someone wants to access to a specific piece of content, to get back to it directly. To have a look to this step, it's a little one, but that could ruin the experience somehow. And that's the way Quartz is doing it. It's, you're officially a Quartz member, now where to? And it's very nice, back to where I was, which is exactly what you were trying to achieve, or maybe explore unlimited Quartz. We found that this copy was pretty good and pretty clear. So we still have 7 minutes. I want to make sure we can interact a bit. What are the different takeaways? Again, define your value proposition and communicate it with users. Very important. Know it, know how to tell it. Yeah, make subscribing easy. Always think about simplicity. Try to reduce the number of scroll, of clicks, of amount of information needed, stages. Think about reassurance, not just value proposition. Try to remove distractions from the page, advertising slot, other call to action, other promotion. Think always about forming habits before the conversion and right after. And maybe think of showing the user's progress, steps, so that the reader have an idea about the funnel and how long it's going to take. Again, make things clear, very straightforward. Sometimes you can offer the possibility to contact support, just in case. So that's not going to cost you so much, because few people are going to do it, but a few ones are hesitating. It's good that they can do that. We've seen the Financial Times offering ability for new subscribers to get a call with customer service to better understand how to really enjoy their subscription. That's smart. I think everyone feels good about that, and I believe very few call. I don't have the data. We need to ask our friend there. And yeah, it's again, launch test, optimize, and to do that, think about tools that can allow you to do so. For the next 5 minutes, because I've got you guys, I want to share something. We've been and run a little poll. Most of our clients today are in France, but we're expanding in Europe and other areas. But we've been looking at France, and most of our clients, especially in the news industry, regional newspaper, national magazines, they've been not seeing a decline in audience, one, and second, in conversion rate. So it's really doubled down. It's been pretty difficult. So we've been a bit worried about, is it the tech, right? Is it our tech? Well, we reach out to other folks in the industry and see that people that are not equipped with us are also experiencing the same thing, whether they have a half solution or a competing solution. So it's really major in France, and even Netflix is experiencing it. We are worried a bit about what's happening. Is it just like a post-lockdown reaction? People think more about getting out, enjoying outdoors in countries when they can do this. Is it a Trump slump, which is there is less interest in the news because only about COVID? Trump has been bringing a bump in subscription. Now he's been leaving. It's less interesting for the news. Is this more fatigue on news in general, which would be pretty worried, or did we maximize the wallet, the money available for each? People have been piling up Netflix, Spotify, Disney Plus, so many monthly subscription that maybe now it's been plateauing a bit. So I just want to ask you guys, we're going to run a little poll here. You got time to answer. The first question is, have you seen an increase or decrease in conversion rates over the last 6 months? And the second question would be, have you seen an increase or decrease in audience numbers over the past 6 months? And that might be interesting to see the difference. So guys, please, you can be pretty honest. We're not going to say who said what. It's just to get a bit of a trend. Let's see what we got. So, okay, we still got some answers. So yeah, well, I will need to break down the trend by country, but we see that majority of respondents, like 78%, been experienced a decrease in audience numbers over the last 6 months. And it's even tougher for the conversion rates because we got 89% of the respondents that are experiencing a decrease in the conversion rate. So I guess that's not going to be easy, but at least I hope you feel less lonely. It's going to be hard to maybe time to think again about what do we stand for, what is the value proposition, how do we make it appealing for the readers. So yeah, I think it's an opportunity to think about that over the summer. We got 2 more minutes, and I'm wondering if anyone has any question. All right, so we have a question from Olivier. If you want to start with free trial periods, how do you prevent people of using different email addresses and get unlimited access? Yeah, that's a classic one. If you just work with the email as an identifier, you might be exposed to that. There are maybe different ways to create some custom reader ID on your end when you're a publisher to make sure you can see if there is an overlap with the email. You can cross different type of identifiers. Email is one. Other can be the cookie. Yes, they can clean the cookie. Other might be the device ID, browser ID, different ways. So you might need to think about making sure that email ID is not the only identifiers leverage to work on the access. Well, we're getting there. It's 29. I just want to make sure it was sharp and fast. Thank you so much, everyone. Any questions, just shout. We're going to send you, a couple of elements. And yeah, can't wait to talk with you about that. Have a great day. Cheers.